We are in Kaplankaya on the southwestern coast of Turkey for our annual gathering, Harvest Series. Here we bring some of the greatest minds with expert speakers, renowned practitioners and talented performers. All aimed at opening our minds, creating curiosity and imagining a brighter future. I hope you'll enjoy this interview. Hello, today I am with Tom Morley. He was a founding member and drummer of Scritti Politti, an 80s band who used to improvise half of their songs on stage. Tom has also recorded with David Bowie and Madness, an expert in bringing people together. He uses a vibrant blend of music and humor to enable individuals and teams to activate their rockstar energy and find their creative voice as a group. So we are going to talk about what Tom does today, how it can help you, and we'll come back to Tom's incredible life and successes. Hello, Tom.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, good. I hope you include some of my failures and not just successes because...
Okay, you will tell me.
Yeah.
If you want to share them. You don't have too many, I hope.
Well, 50-50. But those 50 of failures are really what made the successes deep.
If you can explain, you're in Harvest to help people come out with the rockstar energy they have. How do you do that?
Someone was asking me, how can I look at any group? It could be the Harvest group, it could be a bunch of lawyers in London on a team building day. How can I have the confidence to do it? And I know inside every individual in that group, there's a desire to bring out more love. They feel more love, but they often don't know how to do it. And I think in our competitive society, it's made people a bit scared. They don't want to make any mistakes. And so I see that. And what I do, I think with humor and just kind of easy kind of ways into it, I just create a safe space quickly. Not by telling them, we're all in a safe space now. Because if I said that, they'd go, I'm not, mate. Don't tell me it's a safe space. Okay, I want to feel it. So I do it just by humor, connection, easy warm-up exercises that I've tried over 25 years. It's a kind of act. So someone said yesterday, it's like stand-up comedy with drums. You're like a comedian, but with drums. And then by the end, we've all been laughing for 90 minutes, but we've become musicians, almost by accident. When I was young, my mother died when I was 13, and I was the youngest of 4 boys. And my dad didn't know how to handle it. That was in the 60s, so nobody knew how to handle it. And so I saw everybody just break up. They couldn't talk. We couldn't mention her. Her name wasn't mentioned. So I think I've had this inner drive my whole life to bring people together. Okay. And also to bring people together in crisis, because I think in crisis we have 2 options. We either go and sort ourselves out in a corner somewhere, or we come together and we say, we're in crisis. How do we manage it? What strengths do we bring? How do we listen more? And how do we kind of confess that life hasn't turned out? This is like the failure that I was talking about at the beginning. Life kind of failed quite early for me because you're meant to grow up with 2 parents and then leave home and come back with children. I did none of those things. But I've always looked for, how do I connect people? Because I know, having spoken to my brothers later in life, that we actually all wanted to come together, but we didn't know how. So we all went away separately.
So you're kind of fixing this.
Yeah, I'm in London. I remember one day I was standing at a bus stop in the rain waiting for a bus, and there was 4 of us there in the bus shelter, and I heard a woman sort of singing a tune just to herself, I said, "Oh, are you a singer?" She said, "No, I'm not a singer." And I said, "Oh," but she was from Ghana, and I knew a Ghanaian song, an African Ghanaian song. And I said, "Can I sing you this song?" And she said, "Oh, yeah, I know that song." So and then other people at the bus stop got interested, and by the time the bus came, we were singing in 3-part harmony. So we got on the bus singing in 3-part harmony. So like I say, I have this drive just to make something out of. So that was a rainy day. If you've ever been in London on a rainy day, it's not the best kind of opportunity. Yeah, which is often.
That.
Yeah. But instead, we got on the bus singing in harmony. So, and I don't do that because I'm a wizard, or it's just huge. Oh, actually, can I tell you a quick story?
Yes, of course.
My grandmother, who grew up in London in the East End, in World War II, when the bombs were dropping overhead, they used to go down into the tube station, the underground, to protect themselves. And I said, "What was it like down there?" And she said, "Well, we used to sing because the children were anxious, so we used to sing." So I said, "What? The singers used to sing?" She said, "No, we all used to sing." And I said, "Well, but people are scared of singing." What do you mean? The singers and the actors and performers used to. And then she said, "No, we all used to sing because the children needed to hear the voices of their parents in the song to reassure them, so they could go to sleep." And that really taught me something. I was talking about crisis earlier on. People have a choice. Now, those people were in crisis. What choice did they have? "Oh, I'll go to music lessons for 3 months and then I'll come back and sing to my child." That option wasn't available. They just had to sing right now, so the children could sleep and then they could live another day. As we know, that's what this Harvest series is partly about. The world is in crisis. The crisis isn't coming in 5 years' time. The crisis is now. So just like my grandmother and her friends, we need to start singing in harmony now.
What are the resistance you find in people when they're not professional or they're not self-confident?
The resistance, I think, comes from living in a society, in the West anyway, that is built on competition. The whole of business is built on competition. Therefore, that moves into the education system, which is built on competition. And the teachers, they're not bad people, but music teachers need to win prizes for the school, partly so the school gets good marks. In England, anyway, I'm just talking about the UK. Sure. So the school is seen as a good school to send your child to. It wins prizes. Therefore, in all, especially in the arts, the people who are good at art or the people who are good at music get praise in the class, and they say, "I want you to sing a solo at our school concert or in our school competition with other schools. You three, you're quite good, so you be behind the soloist. The rest of you, mime at the back." I've heard this many, many times. Children thought, they run home, say to their mother, "I've got this special part in the school choir. I've been told to mime." And the teacher actually says that to them. "I'm making you a special person. Don't sing," basically. So we grow up thinking, all right, so Susan is the singer in the class. The other 30 of us, all beside 3 who are good enough to back her. The rest of us, we can't sing.
Yeah, and that's too bad because it's a natural thing to sing, to want to sing when you were a mother sings to her babies. The children love to sing, they love songs.
I think as Picasso said, we're all born artists, we're all geniuses at the age of 4, but we're not geniuses at the age of 20. And he says, what happened to that genius? It's as if we accept that it goes away as we need to start paying bills and write CVs and but actually it doesn't go away. So that means my job is actually very easy, because all I have to do, it's in your intro you refer to it as rock star energy. It's in business they call it discretionary effort. It's the effort you bring to something that you've been holding back because you haven't really known how to use it. It's that energy from those children who were shut down. It's waiting to come out. I mean, singing and using our voice is an evolutionary step. You know, I say to groups, especially people who say, "Oh, I can't sing." I say, "Look, let me tell you, your teacher may have told you you can't sing as a child, but you would not be alive today if you hadn't learned to use your voice to get what you want." I say, let me give you an example. Everyone has sung this song, right? "I can't come in today. Bit of a dodgy tummy. Might be better tomorrow. I'll let you know. Bye." It's how we sing a song to our boss on the telephone. We don't go, "Can't come in today. A bit of a dodgy tummy. I might be better tomorrow. I'll let you know. Bye." You know, we don't do that. And so there's a song to that. And it's got this so don't, you know, nobody can tell me they can't sing, because we've all done it, you know.
What are you trying to make them achieve, to these people who think they cannot sing and in the end sing?
Yeah, well, like I said at the beginning, I think there's a lot of love in people that doesn't get a chance to express itself, and that it is a lot. In many ways, I just orchestrate love. I amplify it in the group because it's already there, and it wants to. It's just like turning up an amplifier. It's already there. So what do they get out of it? More love.
That's good.
And more love and connection with others in the group. So it becomes. It's not just love between, you know, what do we have yesterday? Maybe 60 people. It's not just 60 individual loves getting a little bit bigger. It turned into, it's just beautiful. Because the way I teach, I get people connecting. I get them towards the end. I get them inventing stuff. I say the groove is found at the intersection of discipline, surrender, and mischief. So I start with some discipline, start with some basics. The surrender comes with when you can play the basics, and then I set up an exercise that is actually, if I'd have told them at the beginning we'd be doing that in half an hour, they'd say it was impossible. But it's possible because the way I set it up, they have to surrender. Their mind has to surrender. They cannot do the exercise and think their way through it. And then the mischief comes towards the end where I go, all right, I've taught you the basics, you know about surrender. Now I'm going to break you into groups of 6 is what we did yesterday, 6 and 7. And I want you to invent something to impress the rest of us. And we're all going to come and watch you. And then we're going to watch the next group. And we're going to watch. So we had sort of 7 different performances. And they use the drums in different ways. And they dance, you know, maybe 2 people play, 4 people dance. Maybe they build it up from chaos into rhythm. I mean, it's beautiful. It's my favorite part of any workshop, and I don't do anything at all except watch them make stuff up and perform. The part you enjoy the most is when they deliver their creation. Yeah. Well, it's do you know what? It's a good question. It's my favorite part is watching them create it, because it doesn't always go to plan when they perform it. But watching them create it and interact and talk, a lot of these people had never met before. And here they are doing this amazing thing that they didn't believe they could do. All their teachers said, don't do it. All their children laughed at them when they sang at home, you know. And here they are, making something new with strangers, which is one of the most bonding experiences. But it's the greatest experience and learning for them that's what I want. That's what I want them to take away. That thing, we thought we couldn't do it. And we not only did we do it, but it was funny, it was connecting, and everybody loved it. Because I make sure they all get massive applause at the end, which they do. Nobody has to fake it. I mean, they were just celebrating yesterday.
That's an important part for musicians to have the applause.
Yeah, and I say to them, you'll get applause. You're not being judged on musical merit. You're being judged on, and I say the word judged because we are judgmental, or you're being assessed on your courage to stand there and perform for us when you thought you were going to come and listen to clever people talk about how clever their work is. I don't do that. My work is to hand it to them and stop playing as quickly as possible.
What advice would you give to someone who's missing singing and wants to reintegrate this practice, not seriously, in its daily life?
The reason people sing in the shower is not just because you close the door and you're alone and nobody can hear. Because of the tiles and the glass, there's a natural reverb. It's the sort of reverb that people would add to studio microphones. And when you hear that reverb, it sends your voice back to you in a bigger way. And the reverb is never exactly your exact voice. It's like it adds frequencies top and bottom, slightly different. So it's like you hear a thicker version of your voice. So if you begin in the shower and then you go to any singing group, it could be rock choir, it could be a church choir if you're religious, it could be anything where you can kind of sing in the background until you get some confidence. So I suppose my advice to anybody who wants to expand it, go and be somewhere where singing is going on and see what happens within you, because you have to give yourself permission to join in. I suppose that would be my answer. Give yourself permission to join in, be it in the shower, listening to the radio, in the car, and from there, I suppose I'd say have the courage to take the next step, whatever it is. The next step will occur to you if you begin.
You mentioned in your workshops surrender, invention, but before discipline. Yes.
Yeah.
How discipline was important in your life when you learn drum?
That's a great question. When I was at art school, I was going to be an artist. I wasn't going to be a musician. But we decided, myself and two friends decided to form a band. And one could play bass, one could play guitar. So we didn't have a drummer. So my family background, my dad, when he became very depressed about my mum's death, just kind of fell apart. He was no good at paperwork or anything. So I got a grant to go to art school, but he didn't fill the papers in. So I got my grant money right at the end of art school. I survived, like a scavenger for the rest of the term. But so consequently, when I wanted to buy a drum kit, the grant money arrived. They suddenly said, "Oh, you should have got this at the beginning of the term." So I went and bought a drum kit with it. And I tried to play it, and I was useless, absolutely useless. So it was, I put the whole drum kit in the corner of my room, except the snare drum. And I thought, I'm going to learn just to play one drum. And luckily, higher education then was all free. So I went to the music college, and I said, "Do you have a free drum lesson I can come to?" And they said, "Yeah, sure, come and learn to play the snare drum." So I just learned to play the snare drum for maybe 3 months, and then gradually I started taking other drums out the corner of the room and adding them. So I disciplined myself because I wasn't going to be, I'm quite proud in a way. I wasn't just going to be a bad drummer. I thought. And I mean, if you look at calligraphy, Japanese calligraphy, what is it? It's a few marks. But the discipline to do those marks, to do those brushstrokes, it's a lifetime, lifetime. So, and I think there's a lot of freedom in discipline. It's a paradox.
Tom, can you tell me more about the adventure of forming Scritti Politti?
No, we formed the band at art school. We were originally copying bands like the Clash and the Sex Pistols, which was all, you only need 3 chords and you can get on stage and play. That's why I bought that drum kit, confident that even though I hadn't grown up as a drummer playing biscuit tins and stuff, which is what most drummers will say. I was a drummer since I was a child. I always knew I was going to be a drummer. I didn't know that. I didn't have that. It was really more a political decision I made, and a hard decision, to give up what I was good at, which was visual art, and be a musician, and I wanted to be a musician because there's quite a radical left-wing creative revolution, let's put it that way, within the punk movement and the new wave movement. You could actually sing political songs in a way that the 60s, well, I grew up in the 60s with flower power and everything. There was a political message to the Beatles and Stones and people, and Captain Beefheart. It was more like leading by example. It's like follow us and our philosophy of love and peace and understanding. The new, the Clash were more like, let's have a revolution now. So we wanted to be part of that. So yeah, we formed Scritti Politti. We were originally called The Against, but then we changed to Scritti Politti based on Antonio Gramsci's writing, Scritti Politti, which is the book he wrote, I believe, in prison. And Gramsci wrote about the power of hegemony. That if you control the common sense of a society, then you don't need guns, you don't need coercion. People police themselves. This policing themselves, come back to that singing. I can't sing because I know I can't sing because they're policing themselves, not to be embarrassing in public when their children are around, not to embarrass themselves at a team building thing, not to, So this whole thing of hegemony, that was really the basis of forming the band. So I didn't join the band, we formed it. We created it out of really a desire to be involved in what we thought was going to be, and to a certain extent was, a new revolution. Because if you grow up in any way creative and frustrated by the restrictions of the world, you'll want to join the revolution. That's, I can feel that here. The people who come here and they go, define the revolution to me and I'll sign up.
Tom, you've been working about, I cannot not ask, I know you've been asked probably a 7th time, but you've been working with David Bowie, Tina Turner, Tears for Fears, Madness. Do you have like fabulous memories and anecdotes about all these persons?
Well, David was one of those people who said, go to your edge and go a little bit further, get out of your depth, swim. So I was working with Madness in West Side Studios in the West End, Clive Langer's studio. He was Madness producer. And I got invited to work with them. It was by accident. I'd left Scritti, I was writing my own songs, and I was sitting by the canal in Camden Town, just thinking of some lyrics. And Mark Bedford from Madness went by on his bicycle. They're all very down-to-earth people. He wasn't taking a limo to the studio. He's going by on his bike. And he came back. He said, "Oh, you're Tom, aren't you?" Because we were all, the way we recognized each other then, we weren't all on Facebook and everything. If you were in the music papers, then people would know you. Got your face on the cover of something or other, or just inside. we all read the music papers, so we all knew each other. So he came back and he said, "Oh, what are you up to?" And he just sort of introduced himself. And he said, "I'm just cycling down to our studio. We've just built a studio and we're looking for people to try it out." And I said, "Well, that's coincidental because I'm just thinking up some lyrics." And he said, "Oh, come down." So consequently, I got to work with them doing some drum programming. And David Bowie was working in the studio next door, also being produced by Clive Langer. And I thought, oh, David Bowie, how do I introduce myself? Oh, God, because there was a little coffee area. Anyway, so I went towards the coffee area. He said, Tom Morley, Scritti Politti. Yeah. And he said, good, I'm glad because I need someone to help me with some hand claps on a track we're just playing. So there we are, like any rock star movie, one headphone on, one headphone off, around a microphone, me and David Bowie, so that's how it started. Then he had other percussion things he wanted during the time we were there, which was a number of weeks. So we were just hanging out. And if we needed a bottle of wine or something, at that time he was living in Switzerland, and it was late at night. You couldn't get anything in London. So I'd go, I know a place. And I'd go, I'd take my car. So I'd have this driver driving me to some backstreet restaurant in Notting Hill where I knew I could get us a bottle of wine, So it was this mad life. We didn't take a lot of photos because Clive, the producer, he knew David was part of the deal with using that studio. There's no publicity, no journalists, no. So I can. The weird thing is, I thought, I got no photos of that time. Therefore, that memory is of no use to me. However, when I talk about it, I know people make their own images, so I can just write about it. It doesn't all have to be. David was the first rock star who deliberately would sweep through a hotel. I mean, he did it deliberately. He'd sweep through a hotel foyer, not even acknowledging the journalists and the cameras, because he wanted to make himself into a star. And then, so when eventually he would do an interview, it was a big thing.
Yeah.
Whereas other bands would say, I'm going to be interviewed by the local newspaper. Brilliant. So they'd do anything for a bit of publicity. He wouldn't do that. He knew exactly what he was doing. But then having done it, he didn't need to do it anymore. So he just became this really friendly guy when he wasn't doing that.
One question, how do you look quickly at the music industry today?
It reminds me to some extent of the late 70s, early 80s, because we were pioneers of do-it-yourself records. So we recorded, we took our tapes to the acetate makers, took that acetate to the pressing plant, hand stamped our white labels on the kitchen table. So we knew every aspect of the music business and record production. And today, it reminds me a bit of that because you can bypass big labels. You can become a YouTube star without speaking to any music business people at all. It's completely fan-led, build yourself a fan base and then from there, you can start selling.
Harvest of the day, that's a question I'm asking to all the guests.
Yeah.
If there is one thing that gives you hope, what is it?
Jamie Wheel talks about radical hope, and he talks about leaving space for grace. So even though politically I could tell you the world is in chaos, in crisis, I think leaving space for grace means my heart stays open to opportunities that come that I couldn't have possibly imagined. But I'm ready because I have the discipline and I have the wisdom to surrender and I have the mischief to promote the hell out of it when it happens. If 300 of us here were to go away with that kind of spark, here's an opportunity to make the world a bit better. If there's 300 of us and we go and spread that message to another 10 people in our circle, that's 3,000 if my maths are correct. So, and those 10 So the bang, bang, bang. So that at that point it becomes exponential. So the freedom to be inspiring, let's just put it that way, intelligently inspiring. The freedom and the confidence to do that we learn here, we take out to the world, becomes exponential. That gives me hope. And I've seen it a number of times here, just being here. And I know Jamie and I know some of the other speakers. I know they're doing that already. Then I think that space for grace that any economy or any kind of protocol or any efforts to shut us down, we bypass all those. We go, yeah. Someone was talking about a new paradigm. Well, I mean, yeah, we do need a new paradigm, but it's not going to be set up by a political party. It's going to be set up by individuals acting independently around that space for grace and that radical hope and that creative spark. We will create it.
Thank you very much, Tom Morley, for sharing your successes.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you for being at Harvest.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching this episode of Harvest series. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to hear more, don't forget to click on the subscribe button. See you soon for the next interview.